All right, welcome everyone to the recorded Vega Discover training. My name is Luke Patterson. I'm here with Will Eugene from the Buckles office. And today we're going to go through a few search examples, real life examples that we came up with, these scenarios of how patrons might ask for finding items in the Discover catalog. Now, both the pack and the Discover are different, but a lot of the things are the same in terms of what you can do, and it's just a little different in terms of how you get there in Discover. And the last thing I want to mention before we start these scenarios is the pack is still going to be around. There's no plan to get rid of it as of this recording. So you really have the best of both worlds to have access to both catalogs, and patrons and staff can choose which one to use based on their preferences. So the first example we're going to do is from the Discover catalog. How do I narrow down to all the available items at my library? And that was kind of the number one question we got from staff when we did our surveys. And I just want to point out, as of today, there is this bug that we have where it's not showing the cover images here, but that's in the works of getting resolved. So anyway, the way you navigate to Discover is search.buckles.org. And this was a poll that we had, and this was the name that was voted on to be the best. And to get to your individual library Discover site, you just type the abbreviation here in the front. So if it's Closter, it's cltr.search.buckles.org. The kiosk is the abbreviation, and then you type kiosk.search.buckles.org. And the kiosk version of the library site is just going to log out whoever's logged in after a few minutes because it's for a public kiosk. So anyway, back to this main search.buckles.org. So the scenario was, how do we quickly narrow down to all the available items that are currently on the shelf at a library? And again, we're going to use Closter as this example. So the first thing you do here is go to the search bar, and you're going to do an all search, which is just a star symbol, and hit enter. This is going to bring up every single thing in the catalog. The next thing you want to do is in this left-hand column, there's a refine results menu, and you want to refine the results to items that are at the library. And then if I scroll down here, you can see there's other refinements we can do, and locations is here at the bottom. And if I click that, it's going to open up, and it's going to show about 5 libraries before it shows all locations button. Now, I'll go into this later, but the way the libraries are shown here, and also the way any of these refined results are shown if there's a list, it's going to be from the most to least. So Montclair has the most items, followed by Hackensack, then Mawa, and so forth. Over here, you can see format. There's more books, then there's DVDs, then ebooks, music CDs, and large print. Anyway, so I just refined to all available items, and now I have to click all locations to get to Closter. And you can see here's another list, but not all the libraries are shown here. It ends at Hawthorne. So I'm going to type the library, and you can just type the first 3 letters and hit enter, and it will quickly filter to that. Type Closter and confirm and apply. And now it's going to show all the items that are currently available at Closter, which is 42,953. Now in my results here, it's going to show all the library locations where they're on the shelf in order of alphabetical order. And the same is for find a copy. If I click that, it's going to show alphabetical order down here. And the reason for that is we're on the main Buckles site and we're not logged in. So alphabetical order is how it's going to show. Now, the other thing you can do is you can go to the Closter site, and we showed you that in the beginning, but we'll go to it again. Now I can get there from this drop-down menu and go to Closter, or I can type in ctlr.buckles.org, search.buckles.org. So here we are at Closter, and if I do the star search, it's going to do all the items, but what it will do, oh, I'm logged in. Let me sign out of our patron what it will do is it's going to show Cloister's items first in the search results because we're, again, on the Cloister site. So I'm going to say at library and then go to locations, all locations, type CLO, confirm, and apply. So again, now we have all the ones that are at the Cloister library currently. Now, if you want to really not go through that again, you can just save the search. And any search you do in Discover, once you have all the filters done in the way you want, you can save it, and then that link will work in any web browser. So if you frequently want to narrow down to the items that are available at your library, the best way to do it is just to save the search and bookmark it in the web browser. Or you can also put a shortcut on the desktop. So to save the search, I'm going to log in as our patron, Bobby. And now I can say all available items at Cloister. And now if I go to my saved searches, you see they're right here. And if I click this share button and go to copy, you can see if I open in a new tab and enter this URL, it's going to immediately take me to all available items at Cloister. So that's just a quick way to get to that when you want. And now that I'm logged in as Bobby here, it's going to show Bobby's home library first in all these on the shelf areas. So the way it works is from the main Buckle site, it's just going to do alphabetical order unless you're logged in, and then it's going to show your registered library first. So Bobby here is a patron at Hoboken. So you can see here it's showing Hoboken library first. And then it's going to show Cloister second on the collection site, followed by alphabetical order. So I'll also show and find a copy. You can see home library is starred, and it's going to show Hoboken because I'm logged in, and then it's going to show Cloister and alphabetical. So it's really important to log in because that's how a patron will have their most customized experience. So now we're going to go over some caveats here and what we're doing to improve it. So say we're back at search.buckles.org, we do the all search, and to get there, at library is really quick to get to. But if you notice, to get down to the locations, you got to scroll through collections, age group, concepts, language, all the way down here to the locations. So we have a feature request with Innovative to have all these refinements be able to be organized the way we choose. So if that goes through, we can have locations up at the top here next to at library. So it's quicker to get to. And this is especially helpful given that we're a consortium. Another thing I want to go over is when you go to all locations, remember how I said it ends at Hawthorne? So there's a limit in how many locations show up in this scroll bar. And so the other enhancement request that is in development is this will scroll through all 78 libraries. But even if you, if this wasn't here and you wanted to get there the fastest, you can just type WY for Wyckoff, see, and it comes up right away. So even if there was the list here where they were all listed, it's still a lot faster for me, at least, to type the first few letters of the library and hit enter. And then the final thing, all locations is going to be alphabetical. It's not going to be weighted by number of materials. So it will be A to Z. So those are the three things that are in the works to improve it. But we just wanted to show you how you can get to all items at your library quickly. And again, the best way to do this is to probably set it up and then save the search. All right, now Will's going to go over the next example, and we'll do 4 more examples to go over the rest of the webinar.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just to go ahead and illustrate everything. So I'm already logged on. I typed in search.buckles.org already, so this is the normal homepage. Again, we're missing the showcases because of a bug, but let's go ahead and talk about our searches. Pretty much what we're going to do throughout this session is we wanted to create examples that would make it easier for staff members to kind of understand how they would use Vega Discover in real life circumstances. So because of that, we're going to kind of do a quick run through for these 4 examples that we have prepared. The first one is what happens if a patron comes up to the circ desk and they're asking for a book. All they could remember about the book, however, is that it was a mystery title and that it has the word dog in the title. So because of that, we're going to go over a few examples and what would happen when, as a staff member who's trying to help them out. So we use the arbitrary example in the beginning one, where because of the fact that you hear dog and mystery, you would most likely type in dog mystery into the search bar. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. From there, you'll notice that we have 2,078 results. And as I scroll down, you have a few results here with the guide dog mystery, the dashing dog mystery, and murder likes it hot, a downward dog mystery. So these can be actually good examples of what the patron was looking for. However, there's more ways that you can be able to search, and it's really important that we kind of express those to you so that you have more options for helping the patron out. The next option that we have is if we go over to the advanced search section over here, you'll notice here that we have some new text that's showing up. When it comes to specifically this text, it's going to explain to you that you can use Boolean operators in order to kind of specify your search a bit more when doing searches. So for example, let's say that we are again looking at the dog mystery situation. If we wanted to specify it a bit more, we can use a Boolean operator to get different results. So if I were to type in dog and then and mystery as my Boolean operator, you'll see here that we have 2,078 results still, but the way that they're coming up is a little different. So now we have titles like My Dog and the Birthday Mystery, My Dog and the Green Sock Mystery, My Dog and the Knock Knock Mystery, etc. So it's going to be really important to also use Boolean operations in order to define and specifically search for things, because it may make the results screen be a little different, and you'll have a better understanding and better resources to look at what the patron would be looking for. The last thing that I wanted to touch upon is using the refined results tool along with the search in order to, again, further filter and find out the results that you need to help out this particular patron. So going back to our question, the patron mainly talked about how they remembered that the word dog was in the title, right? And so because of that, if we go to the search bar, I'm going to go ahead and just leave dog in our search bar. And if we go all the way to the right, you'll notice here that there's a drop-down menu for all. If I go ahead and click that, it's going to give us more options in which we can specify our search. So we can search by author, concept, series, and title, which is something that's going to be really important to, again, make sure that your search is to your own liking. In this circumstance, because of the fact that the patron only remembered that dog was in the title, we're going to go ahead and select title for our option. And you'll notice that the results screen has changed. Suddenly, now you have different materials here that have dog within them. So that's going to be kind of the first step to creating that filtered search for the patron. Next up, if we go to the refined results menu, we're going to scroll down and we're going to use concepts. Now, similar to what Luke was stating before, it's weighed a little bit differently, where if there's more of a specific material within a particular concept, it's going to put it at the top. But you can still click the all concepts button and then type in specifically something that will be more applicable to this search. So for example, we're going to type in mystery. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and we're just going to choose these top 2. I'm going to come back to this section specifically just because this may not be the most efficient way, but the concepts facet is pulling from the bib record. So it's going to be really helpful in making our search right now. And if we go ahead and hit apply, you'll notice now that we have only 49 results now. So again, that's drastically lower the number of results that we have. So it's going to make it easier for us as the staff member to look through these titles and see if this is the title that the patron was trying to look for. So as you can see, it's all referencing what we just stated before, with dog being in the title and then it being a mystery book as well. So when it comes to specifically what I was talking about with concepts, again, it's pulling from the bib record, but it might not be the best option for this situation, considering the fact that we're looking for a titled dog book in the genre of mystery. So in the future, we have set up an enhancement request to add genre as a facet within this section of the refined results menu. That way, it'll make things a little bit more efficient when it comes to looking for the particular title that you need to help the patron with. So again, we'll hopefully get that soon. Before I move on, I just wanted to also highlight a new feature that we have here as well. If you go to the right of the card of the title, you'll notice that there's a For Later button and then something that looks like a bookmark. If I go ahead and click that, it's going to prompt me to sign in. And this is how we can create bookmarks on specific titles so we can look at them at a later time. If I go ahead and click the sign in button, it's going to bring up that same card that we saw with Luke's example when it comes to logging in. And in this circumstance, I'm going to use the username that's already applied to Bobby's account instead of the patron barcode. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Bobby T and put in their passcode. All right, and we're logged in. Now you'll notice here in the top right corner that, again, Bobby's name is going to show up here. So now I have the ability to set up the bookmarks. So I clicked out of that really quickly, but if I go ahead and click back into it, it's going to save it to the default For Later list. This is something that everybody defaults with when starting out their bookmark lists. Currently, there is a bug where it's not adding items to the For Later list at this time, and we'll go into that a bit more. But if you want to create a new list, what you can do is click this drop-down menu, and it's going to show the different lists that we have available. The For Later list is our default list, as I mentioned before, and then TBR is a pre-existing new list that we made that was customized for the account. However, we're gonna go ahead and make a new list, and let's name this list Dog Mystery Books. All right, so now that we have that all set up, I'm gonna go ahead and click done, and you'll notice now that the list is showing up, and it's going to increment by 1 every time I click the bookmark button in order to add that item into our list. So as I'm scrolling down, I'm going to continually add these books, and you'll notice that the number is incrementing. So now it's at 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So now we have a full list of dog mystery books that's with 5 titles in it. And we can go ahead and look back at that, which we'll go into in a little bit later on how we can have access to those lists. All right. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Luke, and he's going to go over our next example.
Okay, so the next example, I'm going to go back to search.buckles.org. And let me just make the screen size a little larger for the recording. Okay, so I'm back at search.buckles.org. This example will be a patron asked for On the Road by Jack Kerouac. And this example, we want to show you how the relevancy search works and how it's not always perfect, and then kind of how you can work around it. So I'm going to search On the Road and then Kerouac. And you can see the first one that comes up is Toad on the Road, which is nothing that, related to what we were looking for. So the reason for this is the way Discover works, obviously, like any catalog, is it's going to search through the bib record for all those keywords. Now, because we're doing an all search, we're not doing author search, concept, series, or title. We're doing all. That's going to be the most coverage of all the items in the catalog. And then it's sorted by relevancy here. So because On the Road is first in the search, and On the Road is in the title here, it's probably also in other parts of the bib record for this book. That's why it came up first, is it's weighting On the Road pretty high. So, the way search engines work is they have to choose between a bunch of results to figure out what order to place them in. And this is how the ranking works here. You can see it does say missing Kerouac, so that is helpful. But the way to get around this is, well, first of all, if you see a relevancy search that isn't very relevant, you can submit a ticket to us and we can pass that along to Innovative. This example is something they're going to fix. But again, the way to get around it is you do the and now we get On the Road by Jack Kerouac is the first one here. So in this example, the patron also wanted to place a hold. So I'm going to go down here and you can see place hold button. It's going to prompt me to log in. We're going to use Bobby again. All right, now it's saying pickup location Elmwood Park. This is because the pickup location, it will default to Bobby's preferred pickup location in his profile. Bobby's home branch or home library is Hoboken, but Elmwood Park is where he likes to pick his items up. So it will do that, and then you can click here and change it if you want. There's also a feature that's not fully working as of today, but it will in the future, and that is a hold expiration date where you can click here and then pick a date in the future where you don't need the item anymore. You can also, what we're hoping you can also do is on the right here have a hold activation date. So you'll have both sides of the coin. You'll have an expiration date and a hold activation date. But for now, I'm just going to say Elmwood Park, confirm. And what it's going to do once it loads is it's going to now show I have one copy on hold. And if I click this link, it's going to pop up my holds in my account right here. And you can see our item is right here for pickup at Elmwood Park. Will's going to go into the account section more in a bit, but this is just to show you, like, a lot of parts of Discover are links, and you click through and you can move around that way. So next, Will's going to go over another example.
All right. Sharing my screen again. Okay, so we're back on the main homepage for the Vega Discover catalog. Our next question and example is what happens if a patron asks to see what they can get for e-content on Vega Discover, and another patron asking what can they get for only large print. So we're going to go ahead and go over that. In order to illustrate this, I'm going to use my star search to search the entire catalog within the consortium. And we're going to put our attention to availability within the Refine Results menu. First up, we have at Library. Luke mentioned this before previously, but essentially what this is going to do is it's going to filter out to specifically items that are physically at all of the libraries within the consortium. So as you can see, there's over 760,000 results showing up because it's looking at all of the different materials that are physically at the library within the consortium. However, you have another option here, which is online, and that's referring to digital materials. So, that's going to kind of refer to our e-content. So if I go ahead and click that and then hit apply, you'll notice now that because of the fact that we set that availability filter, if I scroll down and look at the results, it's going to show any material that rolls up with the format that has to do with e-content. So for example, this is an ebook version of We Belong. If I continue to scroll down, there's a version for A Stranger in Your Own City in ebook format. The Drawing Woman has an e-audiobook format, and so on and so forth. So as I continue to scroll down, you'll see more and more that each material that's showing up here has some sort of digital material format showing up. Okay. Now, if we wanted to go to our other example, when it comes to a patron choosing and wanting a large print material, what we can do is actually take this off, and then we'll hit apply to remove that filter. And then from here, we can go into format. And as you can see, it's going to show all the different formats that we have available. This is another example of, because of the fact that we have more of a certain material based on the format, it's going to weigh it differently and put the most amount of materials at the top. But this is kind of a good example considering the fact that large print is just in this initial view, since it's one of the top 5 materials within the consortium. So if I go ahead and select large print and then hit apply, it's now again going to give us results for any materials that have a large print format or version. And as you can see, as I'm scrolling down the results screen, they're all going to be large print materials. All right, so that's pretty much it for this example. I'm going to pass it off to Luke again, and he's going to go over our next example.
All right, the next example, I'm going to go back to the search.bookles.org. And this example, we're going to assume a patron comes up and asks for the Everyman's Library edition of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. So this is going to go through an example of how to get an edition. So first, I'm going to do Rebecca, and then it's going to be Everyman's. And this is helpful to show. Discover will do spell check, which is really cool. What it will do is it will give you did you mean, and then it will give what it thinks you meant. You can see it picked up that I didn't have the apostrophe here in my search. This is a link, so I just click the link and then it will change the search. You can see here it's the first result, and if I go down here to place hold, it's going to just give me whatever one is available first, regardless of edition. But there's edition information link here. If I click that, it will open up to show me all the editions here. So they're listed in chronological order. And you can see the publisher, the physical description, availability. And if I click right here, you can see Everyman's Library edition is this one. Now I can click this I here, and it will give me more information from the bib record. And I can scroll down here, and you can see the bib ID, the ISBN, the language. Now I can also click this other menu and drop it down more, and now we're looking at all the items in the consortium for this edition. So if I were to go to Ramsey and click the I, it's going to give me the item barcode and the item ID at Ramsey. Now let me go up, and if I place a hold here, again, this hold in dark blue is going to give me any edition, but this will give me the edition Everyman's here. And it's going to ask me again for Elmwood Park, and I'll say confirm location. And it's saying it was successful, and now I have this green bar at the top saying I have one copy on hold. So the last part we're going to go through is all the account information. And if I click here on that hold link, now it shows my 2 items, but Will's going to go into this more in detail.
Okay. All right. So now that we are here, I'm going to go ahead and sign out just to illustrate this. But in order to get access to a patron's account, like we've seen throughout the session, you're going to go to the top right-hand corner, and there's going to be a login button there. If I go ahead and click that, it's going to bring up that same card that we've been showing. It's going to note that you can use, again, a username if a patron has that applied on their account, as well as their patron barcode or their library card number, where they can be able to input that as well. So in this case, I'm going to use Bobby's username, and then I'm going to type in their passcode. Now, one thing of note to remember when it comes to everything, it's important to recognize that the override passcode is going to still be in use in this case. So the for the patron passcode can still be used if you want to utilize that in order to get access to a patron's account because you're helping them. This will still work in Vega Discover. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and log in. And as you can see, Bobby's account is in the top right-hand corner now. If I go ahead and click into that, it's going to show us this new card. Now, there's a few things that we can look at from this point. First off, we have the patron's name. We also have the number of checkouts that they have on their account, the number of holds that they have on their account, the fines and fees that have accrued on their account, as well as the home library and the expiration date, which is when they would need to renew their library card. A really cool thing to note as well is that these are all actually links. So clicking into this will bring us directly into our that place where it's referring to in the account. So for example, for our first one, we can go ahead and click the fines or fees. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring us into the account where we can look at that. Before we get into that, this is the actual My Bookshelf. And this is a really cool feature that they've added so that the patron or the user constantly has access to their account while they're doing searching within the catalog. So it's at the bottom here. You can access it by either pressing this arrow, or you can just click the My Bookshelf button and it'll bring that up as well. So when it comes to that, we can start with this fines and fees section. The fines and fees section is going to give you a lot of information on particular fines that are applied on the patron's account. For example, we can see that this is a library charge with the amount being $1. It shows the fine type, the creation date of that fine, and then the fine description. You also have the ability to pay fines. This isn't something that's baked into Vega Discover. So clicking this button is going to lead you just straight back to our current pack, where you can be able to pay for fines similarly into that same screen that we usually use now. So that's an enhancement request that is also hopefully going to be there soon, where you can be able to do it within Vega Discover. But for now, this will just link you back to the original pack. For our next tab, I'm going to go to Profile. And this is where the patron can see all of their information on their account. So for example, we have the patron's email address, their home address, their phone number, their home library, their preferred pickup location. And this is why Elmwood Park was showing up when Luke was placing a hold on Bobby's account. You have the registered library branch, their notification preference, their library card number, the expiration date, and then their passcode for security. Lastly, you have this keep reading history, which is enabled on Bobby's account. And this is where the patron can be able to enable that on their own. Just a reminder that only patrons should be enabling that feature on their own for security purposes. So no staff should enable it for the patron. It should only be the patron enabling it. All right. For our next section, we're going to go into holds. But before we do that, I want to bring attention to the Edit Profile button as well. If we click Edit Profile, you'll notice that this is where the patron can be able to change any information on their own. Now going to the hold requests. These were the hold requests that Luke just placed on Bobby's account throughout our session. As you can see, we have On the Road, so it shows the title and the cover of the book, as well as the material type and the place in line for that patron. From here, you can go to the pickup location and see that. And you do have the ability to change the pickup location. So if you click here, it'll bring up a similar screen where you can be able to choose the pickup location across the entire consortium, including locker branches. So let's say, for example, we wanted to go pick it up at Hoboken. We can still do that. So we can select it and then hit confirm location. Now, currently, this is a bug that we're looking into to make sure that this is going to be fixable, but for the most part, patrons will be able to change their pickup location in this screen. Next up, you also have the expiration date. And as you can see, it's going to always default to a year after the hold request was placed. So today's, for example, March 15th, 2024, but it set the expiration date to March 15th, 2025. If we go to the right here, we have the cancel hold button. This is where the patron can be able to cancel their hold at any time. If we click this arrow, you can actually freeze. And just to explain what this does, let's say a patron is going on vacation and they're not going to be available to pick up their hold request if it's processed quickly. The freeze button is going to allow them to essentially do a manual suspend on that hold request so that it won't get processed until they come back and unfreeze it. So if I click the freeze button, you'll notice now that their place in line is set to frozen. If they do come back from their vacation, for example, and they're ready to pick it up again, they can go ahead and click the arrow button again and then click unfreeze. and you'll notice here that their place in line is changed back to waiting again. So this is kind of their manual suspend. And like Luke mentioned before, we're also going to have the ability to do activation dates at some point in the future. And that is an enhancement request that we're going to, that we're continually working on with Innovative to have be a reality. To show an example of canceling a hold, we can just click the cancel hold button. It's going to give us a confirmation screen asking us if we are sure that we want to cancel the hold. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit yes or cancel hold, and it'll remove it from our list of holds. The last thing that I wanted to note is the sorting feature. If you want to sort hold requests by status or by title, you can do so. Status may be important for the patron that wants to know if the hold request that they have on their account is ready for pickup, whereas title is going to alphabetically order them by the title. All right. So for our next tab, we're going to go to checkouts, and it works similarly to what we saw with holds. This is just the test material that we were going to use to illustrate this. But as you can see, it's going to show the cover of the book, the title, and then the material type here. If we go to the right, it shows the date in which the material was checked out, as well as the due date. And because the due date is overdue, it's going to notify the patron through this red lettering saying that it's overdue by 7 days currently now. We have the renew button here as well. And when it comes to the renew button, I just want to note that currently it's saying renewed 0 times. The reason for that is because Innovative originally set it up so that whenever you renew the material, this will increment up 1, showing that you renewed it a certain amount of times. So if this material had 2 renewals, it'll be able to renew 2 times. However, we wanted to change that because the pack has a different way of showing this, where it will show how many renewals you have left on the material. So this would essentially say renewals, 2 renewals left. So it's really important to get that changed because we don't want to create any confusion for patrons that are used to using the PAX version of renewing. One thing to note as well is that automatic renewals still do work because that's separate. That's something that happened in the iOS. If we go to the top here, we can look at how we can sort, and that's similar to what we saw with hold requests, where you can sort by the due date in order to make sure that you're paying attention to the items that are going to be due soon, as well as title, which will order the materials in alphabetical order. And then lastly, you have this renew item section. And this is going to be a really cool feature for those power users. Just to give you a specific criteria for what we're going to do. Pretty much what happens here is that when it comes to renewing the items, you first have to click the renew overdue. And what that will do is it's going to renew items that are overdue. In this case, it would renew this material. If there's any items or materials that are renew or that are going to be due soon, you can also renew due soon. Clicking this will actually give you a little prompt here where you can specifically set the number of days in which you want items to renew in. So let's say, for example, an item is going to be due in 3 days. You can set that to be 3 days so that the Vega Discover will keep track of it and renew it 3 days before the material is due. And then lastly, we have overdue and due soon. This is going to be another really cool feature. This is mainly going to specify if there's materials that are both overdue and due soon. It'll renew all of them at once. It's not an all renewal, but it only specifies for materials that are overdue and due soon. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to go to the next little row here. We have our bookmarks. Currently, there's a bug with it right now where you're not able to see the covers. And then, as I mentioned before, the for later default one isn't working correctly. However, if we click into it, you'll notice that you do see the covers here. And if you go back, this is what it's mainly supposed to look like. So this is where you can be able to have access to your list of the materials that you bookmarked on the Vega Discover catalog. One thing to note here is that if you want to do anything with sharing, you can do so here. And this is a really cool new feature that Vega Discover has. If we click into that, we can go ahead and email this material to another patron or a staff member. And that's going to be really cool and helpful to use if you want to recommend materials to people or just kind of communicate with your other staff members within the library. You can also copy the list link as well, and copying this will create a URL where you can be able to put this in your URL bar, and from there be able to see all the materials in a list within Vega Discover. So again, that can be really helpful if you want to help out a patron. They won't need to log in any way. They can just look at your list from the link that you've sent to them. These three dots over here, if you go ahead and click that, you can actually edit the list name and then delete. So these are more functional things that you can be able to use with your list particularly. If we click into that, we have the 5 materials that we added before, and we can actually select them specifically. But when it comes to the things at the top right here, this is going to be really important for why you would need to select them. So our first option we have is sorting them. So we can sort them by oldest first, newest first, or title ascending and descending. Next up, we have the select all option. And the select all option is going to be really helpful for selecting all of the materials that we have in the list. We can also deselect them. And the reason why that's going to be important kind of refers to these next few features. We have add to lists. So anything that's selected from this list can be added to a new list. And you'll notice that as I click it, it'll bring up this similar drop-down menu that we saw when I was originally creating those bookmarks. So we can put it into a pre-existing list or create a new list and add the materials that we have selected into the list. Lastly, you have remove from list, and that's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to remove any of the materials that you have currently in here, you can do so. I'm just going to give an example really quickly. So I'm going to unselect everything except this material. And from there, I can go ahead and click remove from list. It's going to give me a card saying, are you sure that you want to remove it? I'm going to say yes. And as you can see, the material is now removed from our list. So a lot of editing properties are available when it comes to the list section of the My Bookshelf. All right, so now for our next one, we have saved searches. And this works similarly to what we saw with the lists. Luke just explained this before, where you can be able to set a certain kind of preset of filters through the Refine Results tool. And from there, you can be able to use that again for later use. It's going to be really helpful, again, if you want to share this. So if there's a specific set of filters that you want to email to a patron or a staff member, you can do so. And then this is what he was mentioning before with that copy URL search link, where you can apply it and bookmark it or add it to your desktop if you want to have a specific filter be used. So I'm going to actually illustrate this now. If I click the copy search link, it will say that it's copied. I'm going to go ahead and create a new tab and then use that URL. And from there, you'll see now that it's getting all the filters that we previously applied. So it's already showing it there. And that's going to be really helpful, again, if you want to have access to your library's materials as quickly as possible. All right. The 3 dots over here also refers to editing the search name and deleting, similar to what we saw with the list as well. And then lastly, we have reading history. Now we're already opted in, but if you're not opted in, there's going to be a button here at the bottom over there where the patron can be able to click it. So that's the second place where they can be able to opt into the reading history. And again, only patrons can be able to do that. Staff members wouldn't be able to do it for the patrons. You have a search for resources as well for those power users that have a lot of materials within their reading history. And then you can also sort it by checkout date, title, and author in ascending and descending order for each one. All right. And just as a reminder before we finish off, I'm going to close this down. But since we're logged in as Bobby, as we scroll through, you'll notice that it's going to show specifically Hoboken first. In order to illustrate that, let me go ahead and do another star search without the formats. And there we go. Hoboken is going to show up first because it's available there at that library and because Bobby's home library is set to Hoboken. So it's going to be really important to, again, allow your patrons to sign in as much as possible so that they can have a more personalized and prioritized experience while using Vega Discover. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting. And that's pretty much it for our session. We do have we are trying our best to continually make sure that everything is working properly with Vega Discover for the betterment of the consortium. And so if you guys do have any more questions, please feel free to do so even after it's released. We're constantly communicating with Innovative to make sure that this is going to be the best product for our library members. So you can always send us a ticket if you do have any questions on certain features or want certain features added. But with that being said, that's the end of our recording today. And thank you for watching.